focused on Fleetwood Mac, my roommate's dead, fungus fermentation, another Wonka reboot, JFK's assassination.
It's not my favorite topic, just my brain's current fixation.
Hyperfocus.
Hyperfocus, a neurodivergent podcast.
Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Dickens here, and this is Hyperfocus, a neurodivergent podcast. And today I am with comedian, writer, and producer Shea Vassar.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for coming. I'm so excited to talk about your topic in a little bit, which is pop culture post 9/11, and then also my topic, which is the Times Square Margaritaville.
Oh my gosh.
But before we go there, I'd like to start the podcast just with you telling us a little bit about your experience being neurodivergent.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a big topic, but I think when I think about my experience, it's been a roller coaster in the sense that I didn't ask to be put on this ride, but here I am. Mm-hmm. I think it's also been so weird for a lot of millennials because it's like we were weird kids and then our parents were like, just do better. Yeah. And now we're like, no, there was a reason I couldn't do homework. I wasn't being lazy. I had a lot of issues. So I think that's been the weirdest thing for me is like the self-acceptance as an adult. My parents were a lot slower. My dad is now realizing he might be neurodivergent.
Well, at least one of them has to be. So that's always the fun mystery to figure out. Sometimes it's really obvious though too. But
yeah, like his hyperfocuses, you know, and like the things it's like, oh, he knows all this sports trivia and like is obsessed with chemistry. And we're like, yeah, Dad, those are some telltale signs right there. So it's been interesting. And like, I always am transparent about this. I don't have an official diagnosis, mostly because like, okay, fun little fact, fun little factor on my lore. I had a really traumatic childhood. And so anytime I went to a psychiatrist or even a therapist, they're like, oh, it's just PTSD. It's just PTSD. And everything would go back to PTSD. And I'd be like, I literally I'm having trouble with my executive dysfunction. And they're like, yeah, PTSD. And I'm like, no, I think it's more.
You're allowed to have PTSD and also be neurodivergent. Like you can be more than one thing.
It's a crazy concept.
Yeah.
So I'm like still working on that. I'm like, in January, it'll be 3 years of me trying to get an ADHD diagnosis, which I feel like is a diagnosis in itself because it's like every time I get a step fulfilled, something happens and then like I miss an appointment and all of that. So like I'm just at this point, like it's pretty legit.
Well, do you want to get started on your topic?
Sure.
Okay. Pop culture post 9/11. What got you into this?
I think it's everyone I know that's neurodivergent has like that historical thing they're obsessed with. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the common ones, right, are like JFK's assassination, Titanic, all of that. Mine has been 9/11, but looking specifically at, I know, like, oh, mine is 9/11. It all started because I'm on that, I hate that people call it this, but the zillennial cusp, where I was born in 1994, but then I started having friends that were born in like 96, 97, who were not in the Northeast and definitely not in New York. And they're like, oh, I don't remember 9/11.
Oh, wow.
It's so confusing. Even like my brother-in-law was born a couple of days after 9/11 and he can legally drink now.
Right.
And so it's like, oh no, like I remember pre-9/11. Mm-hmm. So then I started like thinking about this. And then I went to Hunter College for film school and I studied under a professor named Isabel Pinedo. And she was a sociologist first who looked specifically at the effects of 9/11 on pop culture and like film and TV. So then I was like, oh my gosh. And like 9/11 obviously did a lot to culture, but like pop culture specifically, so interesting. Mm-hmm. This is where I found out the lore of My Chemical Romance.
Yes.
And Gerard Way was working at Cartoon Network when 9/11 happened. And then him and then one of the other guys came together because of 9/11, like how broken up they were about 9/11.
Another guy that is in the band My Chemical Romance.
Yes, I forgot which one. Yeah. I mean, does anybody else know any of their other names? Like,
no,
not to dismiss the rest, but I guess the other guy was from New Jersey, so it like also affected him. And so crazy, right? But then this is where the lore gets even better. My Chemical Romance inspires Stephenie Meyer to write Twilight. Twilight famously inspires 50 Shades of Grey. And so you just realize that there's so much like from 9/11 that just shouldn't exist, but now it's like
Or wouldn't exist. Yeah.
right? Like without these terrorist attacks. And like obviously we could talk about all the bad shit about 9/11, but the fact of like these weird, like specific niche pop culture, I'm like, yes.
And what's that phrase? It's supposed to be like, take your pain and turn it into art or something like that. Like, I mean, I love My Chemical Romance. They're like such a peak defining emo band, I think. And also I thought Gerard Way was super hot when I was like 12 or whatever.
Okay, I gotta admit, I'm just now listening to My Chemical Romance for the first time. Because, okay, I'm in a stage of grief after you lose a parent when you're an adult called second puberty. And everything that you weren't allowed to do when that parent was alive, you now do. And so when I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to listen to My Chemical Romance because they were satanic and he wore eyeliner. Boys weren't supposed to wear eyeliner.
That limits essentially a whole genre of music.
It was so difficult.
Yeah.
Like friends would burn me CDs and that's how I listened to some of it. But My Chemical Romance, I didn't even try.
Well, welcome to the world of
Thank
MCR.
Thank you.
I didn't know that My Chemical Romance inspired Twilight. What's that connection?
Okay, so Stephanie Meyer's a little bit of a weirdo.
Okay.
Now, please don't sue us for liability, Stephanie Meyer. But she's a little bit of a weirdo for multiple reasons. She, though, had a dream that then became Twilight, and then she said that it was because of My Chemical Romance, and she actually imagined a Gerard Way character, or like that is the type for Edward.
Because he has such a pale face.
Yeah.
With like the dark hair.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. Look, I never got into Twilight and I never read or watched Twilight.
Understand.
I knew it was like a big thing. But that's hot now that I think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So 9/11 caused Twilight. And I mean, yeah, 50 Shades of Grey, but I feel like it's not as like scarred on the culture as like Twilight is coming back again.
Is it?
Oh my God, it's everywhere.
Wait, how's it coming back?
I just feel like I'm seeing more Twilight content, more merch again. And I also did recently go to a Spencer's and buy a Twilight shirt, so I'm also feeding this monster, no pun intended.
Are they framing it as like vintage stuff now?
I think so. I think because so much of, again, this like post 9/11 2000s is coming back. I mean, even, okay, so this goes into another theory I have a lot, like, I watch a lot of documentaries, especially like political theory, when I'm high. And so that's where I think a lot about this. So my own political theory is, again, round this entire hyperfocus of mine. I believe that the whole thing that Charli XCX is currently doing is she's trying to embody the party girl era that happened because of 9/11. Like that really was like, because 9/11 happened and we got some weird like other stuff out of it. Anyone that was not around during this time forgot about like all the country music that was like really scary. Like,
oh yeah, I remember.
Toby Keith's Oklahoma born. I drive through Moore, Oklahoma all the time, and there's a water tower that literally says home of Toby Keith. Very big.
Wow.
But his song, Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue.
Yes.
Hey, Uncle Sam, put your name at the top of his list. And the Statue of Liberty started shaking her fist. And the eagle will fly, and it's gonna be hell when you hear Mother Freedom start ringing her bell.
Yes.
Isn't that beautiful?
There's a line in that song that is, because I grew up in Ohio, so we listened to country. Yeah. It's we'll put a boot in your ass, it's the American way.
Yes.
Is in that song too. Yeah.
It's very, so I think the party girl, like Lindsay Lohan, Britney Spears, like all of that was like a post 9/11, like you give up. Like you see how fake everything is, right? And Charli XCX is playing into this. But my theory is she's always been playing into this. And I cite her song 1999 with Troye Sivan because she's very nostalgic for 1999. But why would you be nostalgic for 1999? Pre-9/11 world, baby.
Right. Yeah. It was better times for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, Charli XCX is what, like 32 2 or something. Like,
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. So that makes sense. Because I remember, and everyone was embracing Brat Summer, and I would be like, I'm too old for this. And then people would be like, no, Charlie XCX is our age. And I'm like, okay, maybe. I guess I could embrace it if I wanted to.
As long as I'm in bed by 10. But yeah.
Exactly. So you think now, though, that then, so like the way Brat took off is that Charlie XCX has always been embracing this kind of era, and now the culture's kind of synced up with her.
Yeah, and I mean, not to get to like Adam Curtis on like the social theory of Charlie XCX, mostly because Adam Curtis is a documentarian who also is like very into pop music, and I can't wait for his next one because it's got to have a Charlie XCX song. But I do think that she is basically saying nothing matters. So like while you guys are so worried that the world is crumbling, you don't realize that it's always been crumbling, and we can just do what we want.
Yeah.
And I think it's like
a beautiful message.
It really is.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, yeah, we're in bad times. Like, it's gonna be tough. We got tough days ahead, but like, it was tough back then too. Like, it's not like it's been easy in our lifetime. It hasn't been easy in our parents' lifetime.
Yeah, it hasn't been easy in anyone's lifetime for one reason or another.
Right.
Or like, you think back to one era and you're like, maybe that would have been a nice time to live. And then you're like, oh yeah, but then I couldn't vote. Like it's
literally, or like I can't go outside after a certain time, or I can't have a credit card, which is how I live. So
I've been like trying to like embrace spirituality a little bit more, but there's this one guy I like to listen to. His name's Michael Singer, and he wrote this book called The Untethered Soul, which I will get around to reading eventually.
Understand.
But it does a really good job of just like really hammering home how like insignificant we all are, and it's just like this world has been around for like I don't know, the number of gazillion years, and you're here for such a small amount of time, and the impact you make is so 0.000000001% of anything, and then you leave and the world keeps going, unless maybe it won't, but it's a nice perspective of just like, oh, you don't matter at all. So like enjoy your time while you're here.
It's an important reminder, and I think also like it helps you feel like your problems like that feel really big are actually really small, and so maybe you should just, I don't know, like help someone else, you know? And I think that is like not to be like, oh, okay, I just said nothing matters. But I think the only thing that does matter is community. I mean, that's the only way we got through, again, the post-9/11, the Iraqi war, like, because there was such a swing. And you know, like growing up in the Midwest, we've gone through really far right movements before. I'm sure this one might be pretty bad, but we're going to get through it. We'll get through it. Just hug your neighbor.
Wait, there's one other question I had.
Yeah.
So I wanted to circle back, because what was the exact link of Twilight to 50 Shades? Because I don't know that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I'm giving you so much of this like internet, like Reddit lore, and I love that.
I did read 50 Shades of Grey. So I know that more than Twilight.
Yeah.
But I don't know the connection. Or was it fan fiction?
It's fan fiction.
Okay. I did remember that. Yeah.
I think it's somewhat debated where people are like, it's not, and I don't know what it is, but like, I don't know. There's some like comparing. I never read the books, but I definitely have watched YouTube videos that compare them, because of course I have. And it's probably fanfic.
And then also, which like 9/11 documentaries do you recommend?
I mean, like I feel like as one of, again, like a Reddit bro. I am on Reddit every night before bed, so like guilty. But Loose Change.
Oh, I've seen Loose Change.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I saw that in college, and then that opened me up to like the world of conspiracy theories. And I was like, listen, now that more time has like passed, I'm like, that didn't happen. But like at the time, I was like, I don't know, they make some compelling arguments.
They really do.
Yeah.
And I also like Adam Curtis is more of like he takes archival footage from the BBC, and he doesn't do any like new footage.
Did Adam Curtis make Loose Change?
No.
Oh, okay.
He's a UK documentarian, but they're kind of like art films, and they're kind of vibey. But he kind of looks at where we're at now and how we got here.
Yeah.
Especially the two I would recommend are Hypernormalization and Can't Get You Out of My Head, and they're all free on YouTube.
Oh, perfect. I will absolutely watch those, because my major in college was like media, culture, and communication.
Oh, so you get it.
Yeah, I'm always into anything that is like a cultural reflection or analysis around anything. I'm like, tell me.
That's like my bread and butter. I love, it's just so interesting.
Yeah.
Real fast before we get to your topic, which I'm dying. Is there a specific thing you remember about pre-9/11 that like a shift for you personally?
I feel like it was mostly this idea that there are like enemies out there. Because how old? I was probably in the 5th grade or something. And I just remember like this impression of like these people over there are bad and want us dead. And I had no grasp of like the world before that. And as skewed as like that viewpoint also is now that I've watched other documentaries that other than Loose Change. But yeah, I think it was a reality check in a way of like, oh, there's a big world here and people do bad things that I don't think I was that aware of before.
Yeah. My thing real fast is I lived in Tulsa and my dad and I would go watch the planes take off because TSA wasn't a thing.
Oh, right. Yeah, you just walk into an airport.
You just walked into an airport and we'll watch the planes.
Yeah.
And then we weren't allowed all of a sudden. And I go in and out of that airport every now and then and it looks exactly the same. So I always have this memory and I think about it a lot. But yeah, so it's so interesting to... Again, we have these memories of a pre-9/11 time, and then I have people in my life that can legally drink who were born after 9/11, and that scares me.
Yeah. At least we got My Chemical Romance and some great vampire movies and some great BDSM fanfic.
Silver linings.
Yeah, let's shift over to the Times Square Margaritaville.
Yeah, I'm really glad we have a better topic now. We're happier.
Your topics. Yeah, I love stuff like that. The Times Square Margaritaville, it's like one of those, I feel like it's a New York institution. And Soho Properties opened the Times Square Margaritaville in 2021. It's like fairly recent.
Post-COVID, wow.
And then in the summer of 2023, they were filing for bankruptcy. And I was like, I'd been meaning to go for so long. And I've always like been a big Jimmy Buffett fan. I'm from Cincinnati. He would tour there every summer. And like my favorite song, Fins, starts off with like, she came down from Cincinnati. It took her 3 days on a train. It's about this like girl from Cincinnati that goes down to presumably Florida, I think. And but it's a fun song.
It's very Jimmy Buffett.
It's very Jimmy Buffett. And Cincinnati loves him. I've never saw him in concert, which will regret for the rest of my life. But I was like, I need to go to the Times Square Margaritaville before it closes. So that summer, I like met someone on Hinge who was like visiting from California or something. And I was like, we'll hang out. It's not going to be anything. He seemed like the type of person that would maybe want to go. So I suggested like for this like first date, like, would you be interested in going to the Times Square Margaritaville? And he wrote back, like, I can't tell if this is a bit or not, but it's a sick, disgusting, twisted, absolute yes from me.
Ooh.
And so I screenshot that discussion and tweeted it, and it went viral.
I feel like I remember this.
Do you remember this?
Yes.
And I was like, oh God, because people were like invested. People were like, tell me how it goes. And so this guy, I was like, well, I have to tell him about the tweet because either he doesn't see it at all, or he does see it and I don't tell him, or I tell him. So I was like, heads up, I did tweet this. And he was like flattered by it, I guess, and like also took credit for it. I'm like, no, you can't take credit for my viral tweet. He's a Leo, I think, so makes sense,
yeah.
right? But so then we decide to like wear Hawaiian shirts too, and we go on like this first date to the Times Square Margaritaville.
Wait, he brought one from California?
I think he borrowed like a friend.
But the fact that he had access to one, very on point.
Yeah, well, I had to borrow one from a friend also. I've since acquired a parrot head Hawaiian shirt.
Heck yeah.
But at the time, I did also have to borrow one from a friend. So essentially, at the Times Square Margaritaville, there is a bar crawl you're supposed to do. It's a 6th-floor bar crawl. And so you start on level 2, which is like the tiki bar. And that's where you walk in. It's a giant Statue of Liberty holding a big margarita glass. And it has like a little light show that goes off every 30 minutes or whatever. And that's where you can get like a booze in a blender novelty cup. So he bought us those, which was super nice. And then if you bring back your novelty blender, you get a discount on drinks in the future. Yeah, it's fantastic.
I love this so much.
It's great. It's the best place in the world. So that's where you're supposed to start. And then you go up a level to the tequila bar. Then you go to level 6, which is the Land Shark Bar and Grill, and there's a pool there. That's bar number 3. Bar number 4 is License to Chill bar on level 7. And then after that, you go up to the roof, which is there's 2 bars there, I think 31 and 32. So for our date, we went to the first one, the Tiki Bar, the Land Shark Bar, and then the roof because the License to Chill was closed.
Rude.
At the Land Shark Bar, we also got novelty photos taken of us.
On a first date?
Yeah, like
this.
the guys come around and like take pictures of you and they put it in the little like cardboard frames and he bought those for us also because he was having a great time and I was also having a nice time. But you know, sometimes you're on a date and you can like realize you're like, oh, this person is like having too good of a time.
Oh, yeah.
It's impossible for me to like not have a good time at the Margaritaville. I wasn't like, this is the best date of my life, but he had the time of his life. We had a good time. And then when you go up to the top floor bar, that's a different menu. So all the lower bars have like the hurricanes and the pina coladas, and it's 5 o'clock somewhere, which is the one I really like. Or the roof is like more quote unquote, it's bougie or whatever. And the margaritas are like $20, but they're really good. But after this date ended, because Twitter was dying to know.
Of course.
And so we leave this date. And again, I'm also thinking like he doesn't live here. Like walks me to the train, kisses me goodnight. I'm drunk also. I'm very drunk because we did a mini bar crawl with the fucking booze in a blender.
I also
cups.
love that it is in one building that you did a bar crawl.
It's fantastic.
That's so cool.
It's the best. It's the best. It doesn't feel like you're in New York. It feels like
Right.
you're anywhere else. It's just like a nice little break from reality. And like everyone is nice to you because it's Times Square and they think you're a tourist. The colors are bright. Everyone's drinking like frozen something. They don't play Jimmy Buffett the whole time, which is kind of, I wish they did. They will just kind of play like top whatever music and then throw in a Jimmy Buffett here or there. And I wish it was more Jimmy centric, but that's fine. But yeah, this date ends. He's like texting me to hang out again while he's still in town. I'm drunk, telling my friend how it went. And I literally never do this except in like this one instance. He was like, "Are you free Wednesday?" And I'm like, "Yeah, maybe I have to da-da-da." And then I meant to text my friend. He wasn't a bad kisser. I could just smell desperation.
Oh no.
LOL. And I sent that to him instead.
No. Oh.
And then I followed up with, "I should be free Wednesday." Hoping he wouldn't see that other text I sent. And then I tried to delete it because you can unsend text.
Right.
But I'd never done that before. So what I ended up doing was just deleting it from like my own feed, but not unsending it. And so he saw it and then responded, "I can assure you I'm far from desperate, but yeah, I'll get back to you about Wednesday," which did kind of like prove my point.
It really did.
It really did.
And it's like, I have secondhand embarrassment for you because it is awkward, but like you also deserve to tell your friends those things.
I felt bad because of my oopsie. Like it was an
Exactly.
accident. It was a fumble. It was a big mistake on my end.
It was Margaritaville's fault,
yeah, it was
honestly.
Margaritaville's fault.
That alcohol.
And then I never heard from him again, which was the correct thing to do. It was still nighttime, and I'm like, I hope I don't hear from him after this. I hope he wakes up, tells his friends about it, and his friends are like, "Never speak to that girl again." And that is essentially what happened. And I'm like, phew. But then later I found out that he like, oh no, during our date, because he had lived in New York back in the day and was like one of those like UCB boys. And no, exactly. I mean, I found all this out pretty early, like, because his profile didn't give any of this, right? His profile was like, "I live in California," and he like did podcasts for like a sports thing or something. So then first like 20 minutes, it's like, "Oh, I went to theater school. Oh yeah, I did UCB back in like 2010. And I'm like, oh no. They sneak their way in. And I was like, this isn't what I'm looking for. So from the get-go, I was like, this is, I will hang out on this date and have fun, but also like, I'm not looking for this. A few weeks later, I was telling a friend who was like at UCB around that time. And she was like, "Wait, let me like see a picture of him and see if she recognizes him." And I like pulled up his Hinge profile. And as I'm going through his Hinge profile, he uploaded the novelty photo of him at the Margaritaville. So like, I think we all got something out of it.
I mean, yeah.
He got a nice photo for his Hinge profile.
Sure.
I got the booze in a blender novelty cup that I get to bring back, and I have brought it back for discounts. Like last year, they filed for bankruptcy twice. So then like, we got to go back. So I was there for the 4th of July last year also, which was really fun because we were on the roof for like all the fireworks.
That. Yeah.
That was a really fun time. And then like, very last minute, some lender, Philly-based like lender, takes control of the New York City Margaritaville. So it lives to see more days. Mm-hmm.
And you have the blender cup.
I have the cup, yeah. Have you ever been?
No, I went to the one in Pensacola, Florida, but now when they went bankrupt, that one turned into a different resort. So I was really sad.
Did they all go bankrupt, or was it like, I thought it was kind of like a franchisee thing?
It might have been.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. But now I'm like, I've always wanted to go to the one in Times Square.
You're in town for a few days.
I know. I don't know if I can recover from it though.
But thank you so much for chatting with me about these things. I'm seriously gonna go home and look up those documentaries you suggested.
Well, and I'm going to plan my Margaritaville. I have to go.
Is there a Margaritaville in Oklahoma?
Oh, no.
No?
No.
I feel feel like it's McDonald's. I'm like, they're everywhere.
Right. They should be. It sounds like a brilliant place. It's like paradise on earth.
It is. It really is. Maybe like that's what like brings this country together is just everyone like with a margarita, just like vibing out, singing to good songs, just having a nice time. And we're all just, that's my vision for this.
Maybe that'll be the post-second Trump.
That's what I was just going to say. Yeah, maybe the post. Yeah.
And then in like 20 years, we'll be talking about it, you know?
I'm not Brat Summer. It's like Parrot Head Summer or something.
Oh, heck yeah.
But thank you so much for joining me and for stopping by on your trip into New York City.
Yeah, thank you.
Shea Vassar is a writer, comedian, and producer, and you can find them on social media at Just Shea Vassar, everywhere except for Letterboxd. And you can also follow the show Hyperfocus Comedy on Instagram and TikTok, and there's a Patreon as well if you feel like supporting that. I'm Virginia Dickens, and this has been Hyperfocus, a neurodivergent podcast.